Hey everybody, I want to talk about the reflections, and this is a complete circle, but the dot cam is making it look a little bit different. Let's try that. Okay, so I want to talk about not reflections, rotations, please. And there seemed to be a little bit of confusion yesterday on what it was we were actually trying to do with our rotations. Okay, and let me see if I can move my dot cam around so you can see the paper and not the floor. All right, so if you think about a rotation is like a circle, and we have a center point, and we are moving a point around this center. Okay, so if I look at a rotation of A around point P at, let's say, negative 70 degrees, okay? Now, it's on a circle, and so when we're drawing our lines, what we're actually looking for is we are doing or we're creating a movement along this circle, and the distance that I'm talking about that we connect, like from P to A here, is actually like your radius of your circle. Okay, so it's the distance that A is, that's on the circle, to P. So it's a radius. Now when we rotate it, think in terms of this is the Earth and this is the moon rotating around the Earth. That's the kind of the concept that's going to say it is constant distance. So when I'm talking about this and I'm saying negative 70, degrees are always positive. Okay, the negative is simply telling us the direction, and a negative is going to tell us to go clockwise. So if this is a clock, clockwise is saying go in this direction. That's all the negative is. The degrees is always positive. So when we have our line here for our radius, in order to move this on our circle, we have to find that 70 degrees. Now I'm going to turn my paper because it makes it so much easier when you turn it. All right? Think about it this way. This is ray, if you will. Let me extend this a little bit. This is ray PA, or radius. Oops. It helps if I'm a little bit more accurate than that. I got excited and moved too soon. Okay? So our radius is our ray of PA. Okay? And we're going to create a 70-degree angle that goes in this direction. So this is our vertex. Okay? So we're going to put our point there. And notice this is our bullseye. So our center point goes there. Remember, we're just constructing an angle is all we're doing. And making sure that my guideline goes through my 0. It doesn't, so I got to move it. All right, so my bullseye is on my vertex, or the point that's being rotated around, if you want to think about it as your Earth. My radius, which is a ray, trying to give you some word connections here, is at 0. Now I'm going to 70 degrees, so I'm moving it up, and here is my 70. Okay? So I'm going to draw a line from my vertex to my 70. Okay? So this is going to be the location. This is officially 70 degrees out. Okay? I don't like it sideways. This is officially 70 degrees from A down to here. Okay? And the negative is telling us which direction to go in. Now, normally when I say measure your distance, so like for me, this is at 3 centimeters. So when we have that 70 degrees, we're going to go down here and measure out 3 centimeters. Well, on a circle, that's easier to see. Okay? So there's our A prime. 3 centimeters here and 3 centimeters here, with an angle measurement of 70 degrees. Now, I want you to think, what we're doing, here's your P, and here is your A. Okay, we're doing the same concept, rotating this A, we're just not doing it on a circle. Okay, so since we don't have a circle for that radius, we have to create our radius. And let me do it as a dash line. Some people said that the dash lines helped a little bit better. So there's a dash line. So we have it created just like we did up here. It's -70, so we know we're going to go in this direction. So I'm going to turn it so that I can use my protractor better. This is the vertex of my ray. So I'm putting my vertex on my bullseye, making sure that it's going through the 0. I'm going to go around 70. There's 70 degrees. So I know there's my 70-degree angle. There's my 70-degree angle, just like I did up here. So I now have 70 degrees, just like I did before. But I need to know my distance. I don't have a circle to look at, so I need to measure my distance. So for me, I happen to get 3 2/10 here. So that's 3 2/10 centimeters. And so over here, I'm going to do the same thing. 3 2/10. So it's going to be right here. A prime, because this is 3 2/10 centimeters. So when we're doing this rotation, all of the lines make it harder to see. I understand that. But we're just rotating the figure. These lines of measurements, or these circles, are just there to help us out. Okay? They're just there to help us out. If you want to take a pencil and then erase those lines so that all you have is the rotation and you can just slightly see the work, that's totally fine too. I am totally good with that. Okay? Now, if we have multiple figures, we're going to do the same thing. But let me show you a trick, okay? So if you're having a hard time doing this measurements and everything, so let's say if you had a point, let's say P, and let's say we had a triangle. Okay, here's A, here's B, and here's C. Okay? Alright, so I paused the video, took off the example I was going to do, and I'm going to do another one that's a little bit bigger and easier to see. Plus, I'm doing this after I just did Math Help, and they gave me some feedback. So hopefully this will help. Alright, here's our P for point. As I said earlier, I'm very original. And let's use a bigger marker. And I'm going to make a triangle. Okay, A, B, C. Now, what I'd like for you to do is you're going to do the same one as I do. And you can watch the video and then come back to it if you want. And then I'd like for you to post it up on the Padlet that's following this slide. That way I can see how you're doing on it. Okay. Now, I'm going to do A like I did in class yesterday. And then B and C, I'm going to do as a circle. Okay, so you can do it either way you want, whichever way is easier. People in the math group this morning said that the circles made it easier. You know, it's totally up to you. Both of them are good practices. Both of them work. Okay, so let's start out. So I need from P to A, I need to do my line to connect the two. Okay, if you think about it like your radius, and I'm going to make it as a long ray. Notice the soundings, trying to get that in your head. Radius, ray goes on. Okay, so we're going to do that. Oh, I got off on the side. Just ignore that. Okay, That helps if I tell you what to do. Okay, so let's do a negative 120 degrees. Okay, so the 120 is telling us how many degrees? And this negative is telling us our direction. Remember, we don't have negative degrees. The negative and the positive, it tells us what direction we're going into. And in this particular case, that's going to be a negative is clockwise. So if we're looking at our figure, that means we're going to go this way. That's clockwise. Okay? So I have my line from P to A, and I need to create, this is a ray, P to A, and I need to create a 120 degree angle. So I'm going to put this point here in my bullseye, and I'm going to make sure my ray goes through my 180, 0 guideline there, okay? And it does. Oh, it does, okay? So I'm starting at 0, and I'm going to go to 120. For mine, that's right here, okay? So I'm going to draw that guideline, or the other ray, if you will. Okay, so there's the other ray. But I want A prime to be the same distance from P as A is. So I'm going to measure that. Now, for me, it's hard because my thing right here, so I'm going to hop up to inches on this one. And I have 2 inches here. So that means over here, I also need to have 2 inches. Here we go, 2 inches, which means this is where my A prime is going to be. So I did 1 point, and I did A prime. Now, if you're doing this in pencil, what you may want to do, because what is actually scored are your points and the figure. So if these marks, these lines, are causing you confusion the more you have of them, you're welcome to lightly erase them so that you can tell that they were marked. See how you can see marks from above on mine? So you can tell that they were marked, but they're not in your way. That's totally fine. All right, let's go on to B. I'm going to do B as a circle, okay? And show you how to do that process. So that, if the circles help you, or you can do a semicircle or an arc, if that helps you, wonderful. I don't care which method you use. Both of them are proper methods. Okay, so I'm going to draw a line from P to B. That's my distance. That's going to be my radius for my circle. But I'm going to extend that radius to a longer ray, just so I have lines for my guideline that makes it easier to see. Now, if doing the measurements make it harder on you like this and this, then by all means do a circle. You don't have to do the circle. And I know I keep saying that. Do whichever method is best for you. Oh, and also, I told the group this morning, I went and bought a different protractor earlier in the year because I got this one at Target. I think $5, $7, something like that. Because to me, this one, when I'm pushing on it, it moves. Did everybody see that? It moves really easy. And for me, that's hard. You might be better at it. This one is more difficult to get lined up because you have to take the time to screw in the gears and stuff. But it doesn't move when you're trying to make it, you know. Can't complain about the other one because the school bought them for everybody, which was very nice. Actually, the county bought one for every geometry student in the entire county. So I can't complain about that. That was very nice of them. They didn't have to do that. But I just got a different one. Okay, so I'm going to notice I have this set up. The distance from P to B, so that would be the radius if it was a circle. That's our distance. So I'm going to make a circle. Okay, and it's going to get caught on my sweatshirt. And I just moved it a little. And for me, moving my paper is easier than moving my hand. You all do whatever you want, whichever way is convenient or works for you. But I move my paper. Okay. So I have a circle for B. That means no matter where my 120 degrees falls, I already know my distance. My distance from P to B and P to B prime is going to be somewhere on this circle. This is a B circle. Okay, so let's find out what that degree is. Now, let me look at my purple that we did for A. This right here is 120 degrees. Okay, it's in purple. I'm going to do the same thing for B. Okay, so I'm going to rotate that around. Put that on my bullseye, because that's my ray. Line up my line. Goes through my 0, and I'm looking for 120 degrees. So I'm going to go over, here's my 120. So I'm going to draw that line. That's my other ray, which you'll notice is also a radius for that circle. Okay. So I know that from here, from this pink line to this pink line is 120 degrees. My radius from P to B, I can measure it, or I can say, well, this is the circle for the B point, and we know that based on definition of a circle, the radiuses are all the same. So I'm going to go to that circle and put my B prime. And notice when you're doing your own, the bigger the picture is, at least in my thoughts, this is my thoughts, the bigger the picture, the less confusing all the lines are. When you do it really small, the lines get all overlapped and convoluted. Okay, so let's do C. I'm going to do C also as a circle. So I'm going to start with from P to C, draw that radius, and then I'm going to extend it so that I can see it better as my guideline. So there's my radius, but I'm going to make a full ray. Don't know, I'm using a dark purple. I don't know if you can see that color or not. So I went through here, and then I'm going to do a circle because why not? Making mine smaller. Okay, so I'm going to do my circle, and my circle is going to have a radius of the distance of P to C. Okay, I'm going to draw my circle. I got off. Let's go back and redo it. Droogie. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, you can see where I got off a little bit. My hand slipped. Got caught up on my sweatshirt. Okay, so there's my circle. So I know that this is circle C, right here. And I know that this line is a radius for C, so anywhere as I go on this circle, the radius is going to be the same. I'm looking for 120 degrees. So let's line it up. Here's my center. Here's C. So I need C to go through that 0, 180. Let me find my marker. Okay, so I'm going to go all the way over to 120. And put my mark. Okay. And I'm going to draw that radius. Sorry, my brain stopped. That radius ray, radius to ray. So I know that purple-wise, right here to this one is 120 degrees. Okay, so from this one to this one's 120. Distance-wise, here's the distance. That's my radius. So here's my circle for C. So I'm going to go to the same radius point and put C prime. Okay, so I have all 3 points completed. So now I got to connect them to make my figure. Okay. And that's what I'm saying. The circle, the lines, they're not needed. So if you want to erase those as you go, you're welcome to. I leave them lightly on there so that when you post up your work, I can see what you did. But what is actually graded here is your figure itself. Okay, so there's my, and I just move my paper as I go. And let me highlight these. So this is my pre-image. Right here. That's my pre-image. And this is my image. Okay. And this is the point P that I rotated around. So let's put that in there. Pre-image. And this is our image. Now, I was asked during Math Flex Friday, how can you check that you did it correctly? It's not as easy to check as reflections, but when we're doing rotation, things that are preserved is the segment length and the angle measurements. Okay, and the distance, the betweenness, the distance to P. So like the distance from PA should be the same distance as PA prime. Okay, so that's the betweenness. Actually, let's call that distance. I like that better. Okay, so then we have P to B prime, and P to C, and P to C prime. And I'm putting that segment above it because we are just talking about that segment. Okay, also, the measurements of your segment should be the same. So A to B should match up to A prime, B prime. B to C is going to match up to B prime, C prime. Their measurements should be the same. And C to A should match up to C prime, A prime. So those measurements should be the same. And then your angle measurement should be the same. Okay, what is not preserved here is your orientation because your figure has shifted. So the measure of angle A should match up with the measure of angle A prime. The measure of angle B should match up with the measure of angle B prime. And the measure of angle C should match up with the measure of angle C prime. All right, my friends. I'm hoping that helps. I am going to tell you that the more you practice, the better you will be. So my suggestion to you would be to do extra practice, create your own. And if you're struggling with the figures, go back and do the, I don't know if this was yours or tutoring. Go back and do a single point first. And just practice with that point until you get it correct. And like this is the one with the circle, this is the one without a circle. Same skill set. Okay, it's just one's looking at it as a radius and one's looking at it as a measurement. And then start adding. Do a 3-point figure, 4-point figure. Okay, it's totally up to you. Just keep practicing. Post up a polygon rotation. It can be this one, or if you do a different one, onto the Padlet that's after this video. Okie dokie. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day, and I shall talk to you later.